Hello everyone and welcome to Laminated Vintage. Today's video is our first video filmed in Norway, and I thought we would just go over some of the basics of Firecraft in the Norwegian woods. So before we actually get to lighting any kind of fire, I think it's important to take a look at the differences between lighting a fire in Norway and in England. And that's mainly down to the types of woodland. In Norway you can find mostly coniferous forests, which is going to be full of trees such as Scots pine, Norwegian spruce, yew, and also some deciduous like birch. Whereas in England, you're going to find mostly deciduous, which is going to be full of trees such as beech, ash, oak, some birch, and the odd yew and a few coniferous. So the reason this makes such a difference is mainly down to resin. Coniferous trees such as pine and spruce are full of flammable resin. This also applies to birch, of course, which is probably one of the most useful trees known to man. Not only is the wood of the birch tree flammable, but it also sheds its bark, which can be peeled off in small layers, which is absolutely perfect tinder. When collecting fuel for your fire, it's important to break it down into the three main categories of fuel: tinder, kindling, and your main fuel source. Tinder is what you're going to be starting your fire with. Characteristics of tinder is usually something that's going to be quick to start but also quick to burn. Examples of tinder are bark, leaves, dry moss. First of all, I'm going to be collecting my tinder, and for this I'm going to use some birch bark. Now, birch bark can either be taken directly from the tree or taken off the ground, and obviously you have to take into account how wet it is, because that is going to have a big impact on how well it lights. Although wet birch bark that is on the floor will still catch and burn quite well. Because the floor level is covered in so much flammable material, it can be very easy for a fire to creep out across the floor and quickly become uncontrollable. So it's really important that you maintain control of the fire and keep it to a manageable size, and clear out any debris around the area that you're going to be lighting your fire. What I like to do is collect extra birch bark and keep it in a leather pouch where I can take it home and it can dry out ready for use next time. Next, I'm going to start collecting kindling. So I'm going to start off with some small twigs, branches and snapwood, and then I'm going to move on to some larger branches that I'll process and break up. The final stage of collecting your fuel is going to be your main fuel source. These are going to be bigger, thicker branches, and if you have tools such as a saw and an axe, you can process larger, thicker trunks into logs. Once you've collected all your fuel, it's important to go out and collect more fuel, because no matter how much you've collected, you're always going to need some more. So once you've done that, it's really important to clear any debris away from the area that you're going to be lighting your fire. Anything that can catch, anything that you're going to burn, anything you're going to damage, just clear all the twigs and the leaves and anything away from your area to give yourself a good area to work with. So before I've started to light the fire or put it together, I've just placed this base of logs here to act as a surface to work on. It's also going to get your fire off the potentially wet and dirty ground. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tinder ready. I'm going to place a little bit here, just in this bundle, and then I'm going to make sure I've got a good bundle of kindling here ready. I'm just going to take a bit of that, just a bit like this, and you just need this to get it started, and then we can place some more on top. So now I'm going to light my first piece of bark like this. And I'm just going to place a little bit more here. Just some here. Now I'm going to place my kindling. I'm not going to smother it, but I'm just going to place a little bit more just to even out them flames. Just like this. And then I'm going to take my second bunch of kindling, and I'm just going to evenly place it on top. I'm just going to let that burn through. Some more kindling on top of here. Now I can start to place some bigger stuff on here, now that we've really got those flames going. You don't want to put too much on too soon because that will smother it. One of the most important parts of making fire is making sure you've got good oxygen flow. So just take your time, make sure to give it enough fuel to keep it going. Start to place some of the bigger stuff on now, and just let that breathe and let it build up. Once your fire is built up nice and strong, you can start to add some bigger pieces like this. Remember to keep control of your fire, because in a woodland like this, if this starts to get too big or you lose your attention on it, it can creep across the floor and quite quickly become quite a dangerous situation. So it's very important to keep water with you at all times, just in case. Once you've built yourself up a nice bed of ashes, you can place a few straight pieces just along there, which will act as a good surface for you to sit a cooking pot and cook some food. It is of course important to remember that if you're using a metal handled pot like me, then you're going to need a piece of cloth or something just to remove it from the fire. And then what I do is I prepare 2 pieces of log like I was cooking it on, just so I can place it there ready for it to cool off. I think that's about it for today's video, guys. I know it's been a short one, but it's just been an introductory video to the Forest of Norway. I'm hoping to get a lot more filmed over the next few days, get some really nice content out for you guys. So if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel. Thank you.
Muistuna Karjalamaa, mutta vieläkin syömässä soinahtaa, kun soittajan sormista kuulossa Säkkijärven polkka.